Good morning, class. I am Architect Irene Sharaf Pahela. I will be discussing to you today climate, ecological considerations, and orientation. Good morning. Bago pa tayo gawa ng design concept or any design process, we have to look at the site first and what the conditions are. Part of looking into the site and understanding the site is knowing the importance of climate and ecological considerations. The architect must be able to analyze the site before beginning the design concept. Dahil bago ka makapag-build, kailangan meron ka muna physical environment wherein dun mo itatayo yung building mo. The building cannot be alien from the site. Kaya dapat i-consider natin siya kasi yung building nga na i-design natin, nakatayo dun mismo sa site, hindi pwedeng wala siyang effect. Both present and future scenarios must be considered since the building is supposed to exist and function for decades. So when we do the site analysis, we also have to look beyond the present and know what changes may happen in the future. Our buildings to be able to cope with the possible changes that can happen in the future. There is a lot of talk about climate change, and aside from knowing what climate we have at present, we should be able to look forward to how it's going to be in the future. The more advanced we are in thinking, the more capable our building would be in withstanding these changes or whatever challenges the future climate will present. First, let's define the terms. Ecology is a term that originated from the Greek word oikos, which means house or environment. It is the branch of biology that deals with the relationship of organisms to one another and to their physical surroundings. So this is really a term that describes a branch of biology. But if we're going to look at it in the context of architectural design, it is how the building and its users interact with each other and how the users and the building interact with the environment wherein it is built. Architecture must be compatible with its context, including una, site and the environment. We will be discussing this further as we go along. Climate, sun, wind, temperature, precipitation. Each location has its own distinct climate, which includes yung temperature ng lugar, humidity, in our case, precipitation, which is kung umuulan ba. In other places, precipitation would mean not only rainfall but also snowfall. And we also need to consider geography, soils. This is what I've been talking about. Sloping ba yung lugar or flat? Or is there vegetation, water, and bodies of water are present? And then some sensory aspects to it. And then cultural characteristics of the place. If these contexts are not properly designed, it would cause the user of the building much discomfort. So it's really important for the architectural design to fit in the context of these four. Here are some of the questions the designer needs to ask upon reviewing the site. Here are some of the questions the designer needs to ask upon reviewing the site. Most of these are readily noticeable. I will just scroll through the following questions for us to read, and then later we will apply the following questions. We will ask the following questions within the example given. So first questions are pertaining to the location of the site. Here are some of the questions we need to ask. Is it in an urban area or rural area? Nasa subdivision ba siya? Ano ang nearest na street? And ano yung nearest landmark? So, we are basically defining, tinitingnan lang natin kung ano yung placement ng site, ano yung location niya. So, we can zoom in to the neighborhood and then further out doon sa location map, if it's given to you, titingnan mo asang city ba siya, asang barangay. And from there, makita mo na kung ano yung mga katabi niya na mga lugar and kung anong classification nito pagdating sa zoning. So the next question would be, this is already given to you pag binigyan kayo ng design problem, would be ano yung size ng lote and ano yung present zoning classifications. If this is not given to you already, pwede mong makita yung CLUP ng municipality, and then you can search from it kung ano yung zoning nung lote mo. From the zoning, makikita mo doon kung ano yung easements na kailangan and kung may building height restrictions ba. And kung ano pa yung mga limitations nung design mo. Kasi hindi tayo pwedeng lumabag doon sa legal bounds din nung lote na binigay sa atin. Next na tatanungin mo, ano yung natural environment? So, una dyan, yung area ba ay flat or sloping? Kasi yung slope, ang laki ng effect niyan sa design mo, lalo na kapag matarik yung slope. And from there, madidetermine mo na agad kung buildable ba yung area or hindi, or dehado yung client mo kapag doon nag-build ng structure. So, may bodies of water nearby. Why do we need to know if there are bodies of water nearby? Kasi, meron ding provision ang batas regarding waterways. So, magdadagdag yan ng easement doon sa site mo kapag meron niyang katabi na creek or river. So, madadagdagan yung easement mo. Aside from the easement that you're given, pagdating doon sa road, ano pa, what type of soil is there. Ito naman, this will greatly affect yung structural design mo. Anong kailangan mong, kung anong foundation type ba gagamitin mo, kung ano mang pinaka-suitable para maging matibay siya. Kasi doon nga nakatayo yung building mo. Ano pa? Ano yung ground cover niya? May grass ba yan? Mabato ba? So, these are just some of the questions. Meron ako hindi nabanggit dito kasi nakalagay dyan yung mga anyong tubig. So, if not, meron bang malapit na bundok or altitude? Gaano kataas yung lugar? Kasi isa din yan sa mga considerations kung anong temperature sa lugar because of the altitude. Kung mataas ang lugar, you can expect na medyo malamig-lamig yung lugar mo. Kung nasa mababa ka or let's say according to the location, ganun din yung magiging possible na microclimate mo doon sa lugar mo. Aside from the natural environment, kailangan mo din tingnan kung ano yung built environment na nandoon. Kung wala pang masyadong nakabuild sa paligid ng lote, you have to know or you have to be able to project ano yung possible na i-build there in the future. Kasi pwedeng wala kang katabi na building, pero in the future, may magtatayo pala doon ng building, let's say, 4 to 5 stories high. So, ano magiging implication nun sa future nung dinesign mo? So, may mga mabablock na dyan agad na, let's say, sunlight or wind. The path of wind is going to be changed because of the future development. Bukod dyan, ano yung exterior character ng buildings mo? For example, sa Intramuros maintains yung character niya from nung time pa nung Spanish colonial era. Okay, so that's the exterior character. Kapag meron kang design that is inside a subdivision, merong restrictions din dyan na, for example, they want to maintain a specific style, let's say Mediterranean or Zen, modern, Asian, contemporary. So you'll have to stick with those architectural aesthetic that they gave. So yun yung magiging restriction. So for some places, it's the aesthetic value that they want to preserve. Sa ibang mga lugar naman, hindi naman ganun ka-strict pagdating sa itsura. Possible na, yun nga, like I said kanina, merong building height restrictions or makikita mo na agad how it will affect your design, ano yung character ng neighborhood. Kasi pwede kang mag-match or you can design your buildings in a way that it's either blending in with the neighborhood or it stands out. So, depending on the scenario, yun yung dalawang choices that you can have for your design. Isa pang kailangan mo i-consider regarding the built environment, nasaan yung pinakamalapit na public space or ano yung amenities. If you're designing a residential, kailangan mo din malaman asan yung amenities na pinakamalapit, asan yung public spaces, are there parks. So, this is what ganun tayo magsa-survey ng built environment. And this also tells us kung magiging noisy ba, are there considerations about noise, pollution perhaps, kasama, dyan manggagaling yung data natin for these considerations. One of the most important things that we also have to know is ano ba yung klima. Ano ba yung klima ng lugar? So what is the average temperature? Here in the Philippines, we already have climate type. And I'm sure i-discuss yun sa tropical design ninyo. Pero dadaanan na natin dito sa architectural design 3. So, when you look at a site, meron kasi tayong tinatawag na microclimate. So, the architect must do the site visit, tingnan niya, or the architect will be able to study kung anong average temperature sa site and be able to make interviews kung mainit ba dun sa lugar, malamig, maaliwalas ba, and anong seasons can be identified. Sa Philippines, we have the rainy season and we have the summer hot season, which is not really dry, pero humid and warm yung temperature. So, those are the two main seasons that can be identified in the Philippines. Pero kung nasa Baguio ka, it's different because the altitude there is high and yung factor na yon is nagko-cause din ng changes dun sa lugar. Like I mentioned earlier, yung altitude, malapit ba sa dagat. Kasi yung mga ganyan, coastal areas also has some distinctions pagdating sa climate. And then, after the climate, saan nakaharap yung lote? Anong orientation ng lote mo? And you should be able to identify asan yung most sunlight and ano yung most desirable area for certain activities of the user. Sa bahay, alam na natin yung mga activities ng tao. For example, saan pinakamasayang or pinaka-suitable na ilagay yung bedroom. and paano natin ito maximize. But before we do that, kailangan alam muna natin ano yung orientation ng lot, and then how we respond to that orientation is paano naman i-orient yung building.